What if your brain fog is not a mental problem, but an immune problem? You sit down at your desk to start your work. The screen is bright, but your mind feels dim. You stare at the blinking cursor, and you cannot remember what you were about to type. You read the same sentence 3 times, and it still does not quite land. You feel slow, heavy, and disconnected from your own thoughts. Conversations become harder to follow. You walk into a room and forget why you are there. It feels like you are moving through wet sand, while everyone else seems sharp and quick. Most people blame this on stress, poor sleep, or just getting older. They accept it as normal. They say things like, "I'm just tired," or "It's been a long week." They assume it is something they have to live with. But there is another explanation, and it changes everything. Your brain fog might not be a sign of mental weakness at all. It might be a sign of inflammation inside your brain itself. That is right. Your immune system may be literally slowing down your thinking. And once you understand how this works, you can do something about it. Before you pour another cup of coffee to push through, you need to understand what is actually happening between your ears. Your brain has its own specialized immune cells called microglia. Their job is to protect your brain from threats like infections or injuries. They are essential for keeping your brain healthy. But when your body detects inflammation elsewhere, from the food you eat, from chronic stress, or from poor sleep, it releases proteins called cytokines. Cytokines are messengers that tell your immune system to respond to a threat. These cytokines travel through your bloodstream. And here is the critical part. They can cross a protective layer called the blood-brain barrier. This barrier is supposed to keep harmful substances out of your brain. But cytokines are small enough to slip through. Once they cross, they activate your microglia. Activated microglia then release even more inflammatory signals inside your brain. This creates a cycle of neuroinflammation. What does that inflammation actually do? It directly interferes with how your brain cells communicate with each other. The connections between neurons, called synapses, become less efficient. Signals do not travel as fast. Information gets delayed or lost. Inflammation also reduces the energy available to your brain cells. Your neurons require a huge amount of energy to function. When inflammation disrupts their energy production, they cannot fire as effectively. This makes your thinking feel sluggish, your memory feel spotty, and your focus feel impossible. So when you are sitting at your desk feeling slow and disconnected, it is not because you are lazy. It is because your brain cells are literally running on less energy and slower connections, all driven by an immune response that started somewhere else in your body. Now you understand the mechanism. But here is where most people go wrong. They keep feeding the fire without realizing it. When brain fog hits, the first thing most people do is reach for caffeine. They grab a coffee, an energy drink, or a strong tea. Caffeine can temporarily block the tiredness signals in your brain, and it can give you a short burst of alertness, but it does absolutely nothing to lower inflammation. It just masks the symptom for a little while, and when it wears off, the fog returns, often thicker than before. Some people try to sleep more. Sleep is certainly important. Your brain clears out toxins and repairs itself during deep sleep. But if the inflammatory fire is still burning, extra sleep will not stop the source. You can sleep 9 hours and still wake up feeling foggy if your diet and lifestyle are constantly triggering inflammation. Other people assume it is purely psychological. They blame themselves. They think, "I just need to try harder," or "I must be getting dumber as I age." They accept brain fog as a permanent condition and stop looking for solutions. This is the most common mistake of all, giving up on yourself because you do not know the biological cause. But all of these approaches miss the real driver. The biggest trigger of chronic inflammation is often sitting right on your plate. Let us look at what a typical daily diet looks like for many people. Breakfast is a bowl of sugary cereal or a pastry. Lunch is a sandwich on white bread with processed meat. Dinner is pasta with a creamy sauce. Snacks are crackers, chips, or cookies. These are all rich in refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates cause rapid spikes in your blood sugar. Every time your blood sugar spikes, your body releases insulin and triggers an inflammatory response. When you eat these foods multiple times a day, you are constantly stoking the inflammatory fire. Then there are seed oils. Soybean oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, and corn oil are used in almost all processed and fried foods. They are high in omega-6 fatty acids. In small amounts, omega-6s are essential, but in large amounts, especially without enough omega-3s to balance them, they promote inflammation. These oils are hidden everywhere. They are in salad dressings, mayonnaise, chips, crackers, fried foods, and even many restaurant dishes. Most people consume them at every single meal without knowing it. Meanwhile, they are not getting nearly enough anti-inflammatory foods, like fatty fish, leafy greens, and healthy fats. The imbalance is enormous. So when you are feeling foggy and reaching for a coffee to push through, you are actually putting a bandage on a wound while continuing to poke at it with every meal. The fog will not clear until you address the source. The fix is not another stimulant. It is a switch you can flip with your next meal. Here is the simple rule. Swap one high-inflammatory meal per day for an anti-inflammatory one. You do not need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. You do not need to buy expensive supplements or follow a complicated meal plan. You just need to make one strategic swap each day. So what does a swap look like? Let us say you usually have a sandwich on white bread with deli meat for lunch. Swap that out for a large bowl of leafy greens, topped with a generous portion of grilled salmon or sardines. Drizzle it with extra virgin olive oil and add some colorful vegetables like bell peppers, cucumbers, or tomatoes. If you are not a fan of fish, you can use pasture-raised eggs or a handful of walnuts and chia seeds. But fatty fish is the most potent source of omega-3s. Why does this specific swap work so well? Let us break it down. First, salmon and sardines are rich in two long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. These are the most biologically active forms of omega-3s. EPA directly lowers the production of inflammatory cytokines. It acts like a fire extinguisher for your immune system. DHA, on the other hand, is a structural component of your brain cell membranes. It helps keep your neurons flexible and responsive. When you eat fatty fish, you are both calming the inflammatory response and rebuilding your brain's infrastructure. Second, leafy greens like spinach, kale, and arugula are loaded with polyphenols. These are plant compounds that reduce oxidative stress. They also support the health of your gut microbiome, which plays a crucial role in regulating inflammation throughout your body. A healthy gut means fewer inflammatory signals traveling to your brain. Third, extra virgin olive oil provides healthy monounsaturated fats and additional polyphenols. It is a staple of the Mediterranean diet, which is one of the most well-researched anti-inflammatory eating patterns in the world. By making just this one swap, you significantly lower your overall inflammatory load. You reduce the spike of refined carbohydrates. You remove the inflammatory seed oils. You flood your body with omega-3s and antioxidants. And here is the encouraging part. Your body responds quickly. Within 3 to 5 days of consistently making this one swap, your microglia begin to calm down. Your synapses start firing more efficiently. Your neurons regain their energy production. The fog begins to lift. You might notice it on the morning of day 4 or 5. You will sit down at your desk, and the words will come easily. You will remember what you were about to type. You will feel present, sharp, and capable again. Some people notice improvements in as little as 1 week. Others take a little longer, but the trajectory is clear. You are not stuck with this fog. You have the power to move through it. And this is not just about feeling better today. Lowering chronic inflammation protects your brain for the long term. Chronic neuroinflammation is linked to an increased risk of cognitive decline, depression, and even dementia later in life. By making this swap now, you are investing in your brain health for years to come. That is the rule. But does swapping one meal actually change brain function in a measurable way? Science says yes. This is not a wellness trend. This is backed by solid research. Numerous clinical studies have demonstrated that omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, effectively reduce neuroinflammation. One randomized controlled trial followed adults with mild cognitive complaints. Those who received omega-3 supplementation for 12 weeks showed significant reductions in inflammatory markers and reported clearer thinking compared to the placebo group. Another study tracked participants who adopted a Mediterranean-style diet. This diet emphasizes fatty fish, leafy greens, olive oil, and whole foods. After just 2 weeks, participants showed measurable decreases in circulating cytokines. They also performed better on cognitive tests, measuring attention and memory. The researchers concluded that the anti-inflammatory effects of the diet directly translated to improved brain function. There is also growing evidence linking the gut microbiome to brain inflammation. When you eat anti-inflammatory foods, you support beneficial gut bacteria. These bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids that help regulate the immune system and reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines. So the food swap you make does not just help your brain, it helps your entire body become more resilient. It is important to mention that if your brain fog is sudden, severe, or accompanied by other concerning symptoms, you should always consult a doctor. There are other conditions, like thyroid imbalances, vitamin deficiencies, or autoimmune disorders, that can also cause cognitive issues. But for the vast majority of people experiencing that slow, heavy, frustrating mental fatigue, this one simple meal swap can make a profound difference. You have spent years feeding the inflammatory fire without knowing it. Now you have the knowledge to stop. You have the power to choose a different meal, and your brain will thank you. If this helped you understand brain fog differently, subscribe for more simple health truths. Thank you for watching.